In one survey, 78% of dating app users said they had felt emotionally or physically exhausted by online dating. The app environment exposes people to frequent micro-rejections, unanswered messages, matches that vanish, and conversations that go nowhere. Another challenge of dating apps is the constant effort, yet the reward is uncertain. Using dating apps can feel like having a part-time job or side hustle. Crafting the perfect profile, sending witty openers, keeping multiple conversations going. It's a lot of emotional labor. Yet, success is never guaranteed. The main thing you have to understand is the role of dopamine in dating apps. That's why swiping feels addictive but empty. So I think most of us probably know what a situationship is. A relationship that has emotional and often physical intimacy, but without clear commitment, labels, or long-term expectations. Situationships can feel like a rest stop in the exhausting world of swiping, ghosting, and endless options. So, what's the way through all of this? Clarity. The single most powerful thing you can do is to get honest with yourself about what you actually want. Try real-life meeting opportunities. While apps are a prevalent way to meet, they aren't the only way. Be honest, have you ever opened a dating app and instantly felt tired? Like the thought of another small talk, another maybe, another ghost just makes you want to throw your phone away? Hi guys, you're listening to Master EQ's podcast, and today's topic is about dating fatigue or dating app burnout. That quiet, creeping exhaustion so many people feel when love starts to feel like labor. And if you ever thought, I'm just too tired to date, this episode is definitely for you. And I think most of us have experienced it before, so let's dig a little deeper into it. So what is dating fatigue? It refers to exhaustion, frustration, or apathy that can develop from the process of dating, especially online dating. Instead of feeling excited or hopeful about meeting new people, you're just feeling drained, exhausted, or you're just having another disappointing experience. And what are the key signs of dating fatigue? For example, emotional exhaustion, such as feeling tired or dreading logging into dating apps or going on another mediocre date. In one survey, 78% of dating app users said they had felt emotionally or physically exhausted by online dating. And another report found about 4 in 5 young people, 79% of Gen Z and 80% of millennials, felt burnt out from online dating. So, if you're experiencing the same, just remember, you're not alone. I came across a few comments online, and I'm gonna read out loud some. One person wrote, "Tired? Physically? No, not at all. Mentally? Absolutely. I don't even want to think about dating." Another said, "My free time is too valuable to waste on a first date that likely won't go anywhere. I'm very open to dating if something happened organically, but I no longer have the energy to actively pursue a relationship." Another key sign of dating fatigue can be frustration and hopelessness, which are also very common. It is a sense that the effort isn't paying off. Many daters describe the process as incredibly frustrating or discouraging. A clinical psychologist noted that among her clients who used apps, 80 to 90% have experienced similar burnout or fatigue at some point. You see it again and again online. For example, one person wrote, 3 years into being single and it's all just so exhausting. I'm never anyone's first choice. Not enough. And another said, it's not that I can't be alone. It's the fact that I have been taking dating seriously and nothing has came out of it. No one seems to be genuine. So the last key signs of dating fatigue are detachment and cynicism that we're going to talk about today. When dating begins to feel like a chore or another exhausting to-do list rather than something fun. Some describe being numb or indifferent. For example, treating profiles like trading cards. Here we go again with the comments. Dating is tiring. It's like doing endless job interviews and not getting hired. You get false hope, then they say, no thanks. It's kind of weird that as we get older, dating is no longer fun. It's like a chore. At least that's how I feel. And the thought of being disappointed and starting over again is mentally exhausting. So the big question is, what do we actually do with all of this? If dating fatigue is this common, and clearly from all these voices it is, how do we move through it without burning out completely? To get there, we first need to look at why it develops in the first place. Because once we understand the mechanism behind the exhaustion, we can start to see what real solutions might look like. So, what are the causes of dating app burnout? Actually, several factors contribute to dating fatigue, particularly in online app-based dating. So, first of all, swipe overload and choice paralysis can cause dating app burnout. Dating apps provide an abundance of options, theoretically a good thing, but too many choices can be overwhelming. The endless stream of profiles to swipe can lead to swiping endlessly with no satisfaction, which absolutely plays into burnout. Psychologically, this relates to the paradox of choice. When faced with countless options, people can become dissatisfied and always wondering if someone better is out there. This FOBO, fear of better options, can cause users from focusing on one person, keeping them in a loop of browsing and shallow chats instead of building a real connection. Behavior research shows people invest less effort when they believe alternatives are endless. Psychologically, the what-if loop prevents emotional investment and deep intimacy. So on dating apps, this plays out as endless swiping. Because the pool feels infinite, people invest less energy in any single connection. So you keep asking yourself, what if there's someone better out there? The result is hedging bets, keeping conversations going with several people, but never really going deep with anyone. Psychologically, this what-if loop makes it hard to be present and it blocks the vulnerability required for intimacy. So the solution can be to limit your time and set boundaries. It's easy to treat dating apps like an endless scroll. Instead, set healthy boundaries on your usage. For instance, you might decide to check messages only during a certain hour in the evening rather than all day, or limit swiping to a few nights a week. Don't let apps hijack your free time or become an obsessive habit. Avoid mindless swiping out of boredom. If you're not in the right headspace, it's fine not to engage. Another cause of dating app burnout can be rejection and ghosting. Many of my friends complain about getting ghosted on dating apps, so it's very common. Also, there are several comments about it on the internet. I'm so tired of getting ghosted. Literally, every single time I get my hopes up, I'm let down. It always goes the same way. They always seem super eager to see me and set up another date, and there's compliments and flirting. The app environment exposes people to frequent micro-rejections, unanswered messages, matches that vanish, and conversations that go nowhere. Being ghosted is extremely common. Surveys suggest that roughly 20 to 40% of adults have been on the receiving end of ghosting, and some studies report up to 72% have been ghosted at least once in their life. Unlike a mutual breakup, ghosting gives no closure. It often leaves the person feeling confused, hurt, and even blaming themselves. Repeated experiences of ghosting or rejection can seriously erode self-esteem and trust, contributing to burnout. So, what is the solution? What do you do with all this rejection and ghosting? First, remind yourself this is how the apps work. It's built into the system. If someone disappears, it doesn't automatically mean you did something wrong. In many cases, it's about their own readiness, attention span, or even just the way people treat each other in these environments. That said, a little self-reflection never hurts. Every now and then, check in with yourself or even ask for honest feedback from a friend. Is there something in how I'm showing up that I could improve? But if you're putting the effort, being genuine, and still get ghosted, let that be about them and not about you. And while you're in this cycle, make sure you're also building up your self-worth outside of dating apps. Invest in hobbies, friendships, work, Anything that reminds you that your value isn't tied to whether someone replies to your message or not. Stay grounded by keeping perspective. The process is tough for everyone, and you are much more than one match's opinion. Lean on friends or a therapist for support if you start doubting yourself. Building resilience against these slides will protect your mental health. Ever get a text, a casual like on Instagram, or a tiny flirt, and suddenly you're hooked? Waiting for the next crumb? That's breadcrumbing. Psychologists say it works like a slot machine. Unpredictable rewards keep your brain chasing more, even if the payoff is tiny. And over time, it drains your energy, your self-worth, and even the sense of what a healthy relationship should feel like. Breadcrumbing is when someone offers just a little attention to keep another person emotionally invested. A sporadic message, a casual like on Instagram, a flirty text every now and then. From a psychologist's perspective, this works because of intermittent reinforcement, the same principle that keeps people playing slot machines. You never know when the next crumb of attention is coming, so you stay hooked. The problem is that the person on the receiving end invests more and more energy while getting very little in return. Over time, this dynamic leads to burnout, lowered self-esteem, and a warped view of what healthy reciprocity looks like. When we talk about breadcrumbing, the film "He's Just Not That Into You" immediately pops into my mind. In the movie, they say when someone is truly into you, they will call, they will text, they will make it happen no matter what. And honestly, that's where the whole saying comes from. If he wanted to, he would. When someone really wants to see you or talk to you, they will find a way. But when they're not that into you, we tend to justify their behavior and come up with excuses. Like, oh, he hasn't called or texted, but sure, he's really busy. Right, for 2 weeks? Yeah, I don't think so. And honestly, I've been there, done that too. Making excuses, explaining away their behavior. But I've realized that when you find yourself constantly justifying their behavior to your friends or family, that's the time to pause, take a break, and review what's really going on. But I know I'm not alone with this. Someone else on the internet has phrased it quite so well. In the months that I've known her, we have seen each other twice exactly. Once for a drink date, and once watching movies at my place. We didn't do anything intimate. I text her, and she might respond 3-4 days to a week later. She will watch my stories on social media when not responding to my texts. When I try to make a plan doing something with her, she will tell me she's so busy and that we should plan something, but she never responds when I suggest something. Meanwhile, she posts to her socials. I just see it pop up in my feeds. I don't check hers regularly. When I tell her that I would like someone who communicates more regularly, she states that she wants me around. But then she doesn't respond to plans to hang out when I try to plan something. So what can be the solution? Be intentional and set goals. Before diving into swiping, reflect on what you really want. Are you looking for a serious relationship, casual fun, or just seeing what's out there? Setting clear intentions can help you use apps more mindfully. For example, if your goal is a long-term partner, you might choose apps geared towards serious dating and not waste energy on ones known for hookups. Knowing your own goals also helps you avoid getting pulled into something that doesn't fulfill you completely. Also, mindful swiping and self-check-ins can help you a lot. Treat online dating as an activity that should serve you and not stress you. A helpful habit is to do regular self-check-ins. For example, after 15 minutes of swiping or after a weekend of dating, pause and ask, how am I feeling about this? Is it bringing me closer to what I want or just making me anxious? If it's the latter, adjust your approach. Maybe reduce the time spent or try a new app or take a break as mentioned. Okay, so what really helped me while I was using dating apps was learning to pause. Whenever I felt overwhelmed or the dates weren't going well, I would take a break. Sometimes I would even delete the apps altogether and come back only when I actually felt like it. Mindfulness can also mean reminding yourself that attraction and connection often develop slowly in real life. Not every first date will be a Hollywood rom-com moment. Keeping realistic expectations will prevent unnecessary disappointment. In a sense, stay emotionally tuned and don't be afraid to change your dating strategy if you're not feeling good. Another challenge of dating apps is the constant effort, yet the reward is uncertain. Using dating apps can feel like having a part-time job or side hustle. Crafting the perfect profile, sending witty openers, keeping multiple conversations going. It's a lot of emotional labor. Yet, success is never guaranteed. You invest a lot, then you receive a little, which makes the process very difficult. This effort to reward imbalance, high effort, low return, quickly leads to exhaustion. Some comments say, "At first I felt like a kid in a candy store, but quickly found many of my dates just fizzled out and it was just rinse and repeat. Asking the same questions, ask them for the first date, usually be disappointed, find someone else. If it goes on multiple dates and something positive is going, you go through the honeymoon phase just to find out that you are incompatible and start from step one again. Super draining and then this point, burnt out." Always on mentality and tech fatigue can be another problem. Today's smartphones mean dating apps are always accessible, blurring work, leisure, and romantic life. People feel pressure to be continuously chatting or checking for new matches. This can produce a sense of tech burnout similar to Zoom fatigue. One researcher pointed out that after the pandemic era of constant online interaction, many are just digitally tired and dating apps are not immune to the fatigue. It's so hard to take a mental break because there's always another swipe to do or another notification popping up. This constant connectivity with dating apps amplifies the burnout compared to older ways of dating that had more built-in downtime. And as I have said before, limit your time and set boundaries. And don't use dating apps as another social media app just out of boredom. Focus on quality over quantity. It might be tempting to cast a wide net, but burnout often comes from too many shallow interactions. Consider being more selective and focusing energy on a few promising connections at a time. This doesn't mean holding out for the perfect profile, but rather, once you have a match that seems good, invest in getting to know that person instead of juggling 20 chats. Don't obsessively filter out every minor mismatch. Instead, give people a chance and go on real dates to see actual chemistry. Essentially, swipe less and meet more. This can make dating more human and less like a numbers game. So here's one science-based tip. If you're intrigued by someone, move the conversation of the app relatively quickly, after a few days of chatting, and meet in person or via video. Prolonged text exchanges that don't lead to meeting can sap your energy and build false expectations. In fact, about 1/3 of people who use online dating have never actually met someone in person from it. Don't let endless chatting keep you stuck. A short coffee date or video call can bring back the real connection that texting lacks. Take regular breaks. If you notice dating is becoming disheartening, give yourself permission to pause. Many fatigued daters find that stepping away from the apps for a while helps them recharge. Even a short digital detox, a week or two off, can restore perspective. Use the break to focus on hobbies, friends, and self-care, things that boost your mood and energy and remind you of your value outside of dating. Dating should only be a part of your life and not all of it. So build a life that you love, and somebody will be an addition to your life, and it also takes the pressure of dating. Try real-life meeting opportunities. While apps are a prevalent way to meet, they aren't the only way. To break the monotony, consider mixing in offline dating approaches. Let friends know you're open to being set up. Some observers note the solution to app fatigue is to start setting up our friends, the old-fashioned way. Attend social events, join clubs or groups related to your interests, or try speed dating. Meeting through shared activities can sometimes foster more natural connections and reminds you that potential partners are people, not just profiles. Shifting some energy to offline interactions can relieve the pressure and burnout from apps. you regain a sense of organic socializing, which many find refreshing. Even using apps differently, like opting those that facilitate group events or have video chat, can bring more personal touch that reduces fatigue. So here's some story time. The other day at the office we were talking about this, and one of my colleagues shared her experience. She's in a really happy relationship now, but she said if she and her partner had met on an app, it probably wouldn't even have worked out for them. The filters wouldn't even have matched them, and if they had gone on one date, chances are they would have written each other off pretty quickly. Instead, because they met in another setting, she got to see sides of him that would never come through in a dating app or a first chat. And what's funny is that according to her app filters, he wouldn't even have shown up as an option. Yet, in real life, they turned out to be an amazing match. What really stood out to me was how she described the burnout of online dating. And remember, this is someone who's a psychologist, who really tried to follow all the good practices you read about. She avoided the copy-paste small talk, tried to keep conversations fresh and authentic. But even then, the cycle was draining. Start a chat, cover the same ground, realize it's not a fit, and then repeat with someone new, over and over again. Her story left us with two reminders. First, it's a hopeful one. Good relationships are still out there, and sometimes they come from places you wouldn't even expect. And second, it's a nudge to not rely only on the apps. If you're in it for the long haul, give yourself a break. You either play the game or you don't. There is a reason that professional sports typically only have a 4 to 6 month season. Emotional labor in dating. How it leads to exhaustion with low reward. Dating isn't just about showing up. It requires constant, invisible work. Thinking about how fast you should reply, how your tone comes across, and how you present yourself on apps, and how emotionally available you appear. This is emotional labor, and research shows it often falls disproportionately on women and marginalized groups. The imbalance is exhausting. People put time and energy regulating themselves, often with little reward if the connection fizzles. Psychologically, it mirrors patterns of overfunctioning, giving too much in relationships and then feeling undervalued, depleted, and resentful. So let's see how emotional labor looks like. I'm lively and enthusiastic, and my current man, only 6 days so far, likes my openness and yet isn't telling me half as much about himself. I turn the conversation to him, ask questions, and get banal, minimal answers. Maybe he just isn't used to being open, but I feel like giving up already. I'm getting bored. I want to throw in the towel and move on, but he's a nice enough guy. And if we zoom out a little, there's also a more scientific layer to why this all feels so draining. It's not just the effort we put in, it's how the apps themselves are designed. The main thing you have to understand is the role of dopamine in dating apps. That's why swiping feels addictive but empty. Apps are built on variable reward schedules, like gambling, releasing dopamine when a match appears. The anticipation is more rewarding than the interaction, leading to compulsive swiping. Psychologically reinforces addictive loops while undermining genuine connection. So it's a myth that you have to earn love by self-work, and I will break it down to you why. Digital dating culture makes people hyper-aware of themselves. We constantly ask, am I ready? Am I attractive enough? Am I good enough? Social messages reinforce this with sayings like, you have to love yourself before you can love someone else. While self-reflection is valuable, psychology shows that relationships themselves are also powerful spaces for growth. Framing love as something you only earn once you're fully healed or self-sufficient creates a dangerous myth. It fuels perfectionism and shame, and it ignores the reality that human connection is often the very thing that helps us grow. So here is the emotional toll of repeated short-term encounters, aka mini heartbreaks stacking up. Attachment fatigue is a newer term used to describe what happens when people go through repeated short-term connections, ghostings, or situationships. Every time you invest emotionally and it doesn't work out, you go through a mini cycle of hope, disappointment, and recovery. Over time, these micro heartbreaks pile up. The emotional system that drives bonding, your attachment system, gets tired very soon. People start to feel numb, cynical, or disconnected. Almost they have burnout on intimacy itself. Psychologically, it resembles compassion fatigue. Too many cycles of giving and losing erode the motivation to try again. There is a cost of staying in half relationships on self-worth. Unclear relationships create cognitive dissonance. The brain craves certainty but gets ambiguity. This erodes self-esteem. Why am I not enough for clarity? Long-term effects are insecurity, fear of expressing needs, normalization of emotional neglect. And let's see how someone explains this feeling. I'm a 30-year-old man who have been unsuccessful on these dating apps and at times feels it warps my own perspective of myself. How do you all stay sane using these apps? I find myself feeling like my lack of success is indicative of some kind of problem with me. I find myself feeling like my lack of success is indicative of some kind of problem with me. How do you all keep positive attitude? Let's dive deeper into this and talk more about commitment issues and situationships. So I think most of us probably know what a situationship is. A relationship that has emotional and often physical intimacy, but without clear commitment, labels, or long-term expectations. Situationships have exploded in recent years, and there's a reason they are so appealing. They offer the comfort of companionship, the warmth of intimacy, and often the fun of sexual connection, all without the vulnerability of clear commitment. For many, especially those with anxious or avoidant attachment tendencies, situationships feel like the perfect middle ground. Closeness without the fear of being trapped. Psychologically, though, this comes at a cost. The lack of clarity means security and stability are sacrificed. People may enjoy the flexibility, but over time, the ambiguity creates confusion, unmet expectations, and often emotional pain. What makes situationships fascinating from a psychologist standpoint isn't just that they meet certain needs, it's how they tie into the cycle of dating fatigue. Situationships can feel like a rest stop in the exhausting world of swiping, ghosting, and endless options. After too many shallow app conversations or failed starts, a situationship offers relief. At least I have someone, at least I don't have to keep starting over. But here's the paradox. The very ambiguity that makes situationships feel low pressure at first eventually contributes to the same exhaustion people are trying to escape. Psychologists call this ambiguous loss, the stress of investing emotionally in something that doesn't have a clear shape or future. Instead of providing stability, situationships often extend uncertainty, keeping the attachment system activated but never satisfied. That's why they are so relevant to dating fatigue. People enter them to escape the burnout of constant swiping. But over time, the lack of clarity drains them just as much. In other words, situationships can be both a coping mechanism and a hidden contributor to the cycle of dating exhaustion. So, how common are situationships, you might ask? They have become very common, reflecting a shift in dating norms. A 2024 survey of 1,000 Americans found 60% of adults said they are currently in or have previously been in a situationship. It's not just a Gen Z phenomenon either. Interestingly, in that survey, baby boomers reported even more situationship experience, 45%, than Gen Z did with 32%, indicating that earlier generations had their own forms of casual arrangement, even if the term is new. Another poll found about half of 18 to 34-year-old Americans have been in a situationship at least once in their life. So from this topic, The film that pops into my mind is 500 Days of Summer. I think it's such a great example of what a situationship can look like. In the movie, we see both perspectives. Tom and Summer behave as though they are in a relationship. They go to the movies, have dinner together, and attend events. All the typical things couples would do. However, when Tom tries to define a relationship, Summer makes it clear that she doesn't want a label. This is deeply painful for Tom, as he has feelings for her, and he might think that she has been leading him on, while the truth, she simply doesn't share the same feelings as him. I also have a friend who spent an entire summer with a guy. They traveled together, went to all these amazing places, basically doing all the same things as a couple would do. And then after 4 months, he told him he wasn't ready for a relationship. But you might ask, why the hesitation to commit? This can be, for example, a paradox of choice and FOMO. With dating apps providing hundreds of potential matches at your fingertips, people feel they have endless options. This abundance can breed a grass is greener mentality. Daters may be reluctant to commit to one person because subconsciously they wonder, what if someone even more compatible is just a swipe away? This fear of a better option makes it harder to invest deeply in one person in front of you. It's a classic dilemma. Having more options leads to less satisfaction and more indecision. In relationships, FOMO manifests as always keeping one foot out the door. But here's the changing social norms. Compared to previous generations, millennials and Gen Z are marrying and settling down later in life. The median age of first marriage in the US is now about 28.6 for women and 30.2 for men, significantly higher than in the mid-20th century. It's increasingly common and acceptable to spend one's 20s exploring, focusing on education, career, or just casually dating without long-term plans. There's less pressure from society to find a spouse early. And here's how the career and personal priorities look like. Many 25 to 35-year-olds are prioritizing personal growth, travel, or career advancement during these years. Relationships may take a backseat, or they seek flexible arrangements that won't interfere with other goals. Research has found that for those singles who are not looking to date, the top reasons include having important priorities and simply enjoying being single. On a psychological level, some individuals have a genuine fear of commitment, often stemming from past experiences or attachment styles. In the dating pool, avoidant individuals may be overrepresented on dating apps, which can skew the general vibe toward non-commitment. So there's also a mismatch in expectations. While women are more likely to seek committed relationships, men in that age group are comparatively more open to casual or non-committed relationships. So, what's the way through all of this? Clarity. The single most powerful thing you can do is to get honest with yourself about what you actually want. If you're okay with someone casual for now, that's perfectly fine. But set your own boundary around how long you're willing to stay in that gray zone. Because without a clear line, it's easy to drift along hoping things will change, even when they won't. When you decide ahead of time where your limit is and give yourself permission to walk away before the ambiguity starts to eat your self-worth. So, for now, let's move on to the Reddit questions. It's emotionally taxing and expends more energy than most people realize. You have to find someone you like that also likes you. You have to both be at a point in your lives where you're available to pursue a relationship. I also think people exhaust themselves by constantly holding out for the one. I've seen so many people turn away from what could have been an otherwise great relationship if they actually committed and put time into building it. You're wondering what could be our answer for it. So, really get what you're saying. Dating can feel emotionally exhausting because it's not just about attraction. It's timing, availability, and the willingness to actually put in work and build something real together. And you're right, a lot of people burn themselves out chasing the one, as if there's one single perfect person out there who will check every box. But here's the thing, psychologically tells us that perfect partner myth is just that, a myth. Humans aren't puzzle pieces waiting for one exact match. In reality, compatibility comes from shared core values, willingness to invest, and navigating differences together. If expectations are too rigid or idealized, no one will ever feel good enough, and that mindset can become a subtle defense against true intimacy. So, what actually helps? First, get clear on your non-negotiables, the core values you can't compromise on, things like life goals, family, or how you see commitment. Then loosen your grip on the smaller stuff. Preferences like hobbies, fashion, or niche interests don't define whether someone can be a great partner. And if you catch yourself constantly finding faults, ask whether it's about them or whether it's a way of protecting yourself from vulnerability or closeness. Sometimes when they say they're not perfect, it's really a code for I'm scared to risk being seen. So unfortunately, we came to an end. And to wrap this topic up, I'm going to tell you the takeaways. Great relationships aren't discovered, they're built. That means shifting from searching for perfection to practicing commitment, flexibility, and communication. And if you want structured tools to sort through values, spot patterns, and learn how to invest in the right places, that's exactly what we guide you through in the app. So if you have enjoyed today's video, then check out our other ones and share it with your friends. Check out the app and also hit the subscribe button.